Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. David Kelly here, race director of the Great World Race. Today we have with us a lady. In 2019, she was the first non-elite athlete to cross the line in the New York City Marathon in a time of 2 hours 37 minutes. This was bettered close to 2 years after when she finished fourth in the UK Olympic trials with a time of 2 hours 32 minutes and 1 second. She is an absolute legend in the peloton world and known by millions across the globe. Becs Gentry, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the Great World Race podcast. You're extremely welcome.
Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. And I think thank you for having me in the race.
No, it's an absolute pleasure, Bex. It's great to have you on board. And I appreciate there, we just had a conversation a couple minutes ago. You're only back from the extremely hot temperatures of Greece.
Yes.
So I appreciate you fitting us in your busy schedule.
And you as well, with all of this incredible running world that you're involved in, bringing us all the info from the champs and everything going on.
Yeah, no, as I said to Bex, I'm currently in Rome here at the European Championships, the athletics. So it's been a good, Ireland have done exceptionally well. They had a team goal in the mixed relay. Kieran McGee won the women's 1500. Amazing. Only second person ever to win actually European gold. And Rashida Adlecki was actually second in the 400 last night. And the women's relay are actually the favourites tomorrow night. So it's been a great week for the Irish in the athletics championships.
A success with all that pasta, all that proper pasta, fueling them up well.
Yeah, no, it's great. So Bex, just obviously a background to your own background. Obviously well known in the peloton world, well known in the athletics world. How did it all begin? Were you into running when you were younger in school? Did you pick it up in college, or did you pick it up a bit later?
Oh my gosh. A lot later. In school, and for the US listeners, this is not university. This is, as David and I call school, is when you're at high school and below for the Americans. I was into sports, yes, very all round. So netball, lacrosse, tennis, everything. I was a bit of all of it. I stayed a very long way away from track at school. Very long way away. I tried my hand at high jump, wasn't great at it, and cross country, but I didn't like running in underwear. So I didn't do that. Running came to me, I was probably, let's say 26, 27. Very toxic job, very toxic personal relationship that I was in, and I used it as an escape. I used it as a way of organizing this messy Rolodex of a brain that I had going on. And I was living in Brighton and Hove at the time, in the south of the UK, commuting to London, spending a lot of hours on the train, a lot of hours in a very high pressure job in public relations. And then I'd come back to the seaside and I'd put my watch on. This was before Instagram, before all of the logging the workout to prove that you did it.
Or you became famous, Bex.
Oh yeah, exactly. Way before. I would go out with my knitted beanie on and I'd just run along that seafront and feel the spray of the ocean, and it would just completely undo any stress in my body and my brain. And I just kept going at it. It would be, I didn't care when I did it. I didn't care how long. I really didn't know how long. I just wore my old, the Casio watches, just so I knew what time it was. And it was therapy for me back then. And I just kept it going. I started to join gym classes, like CrossFit style stuff. I love that, love getting fit and strong. And I was always the quickest, like when we did the workouts in the gym, and then you do like a 4 loop of the block. And I was always the quickest. And I was like, this is interesting. Okay. And from there on, I just started to explore 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons. And it wasn't until I went or came to the USA when I was 27, 28, and my uncle at the time saw me go for these long runs in Florida, Naples, Florida. So talking of heat, David, I'm clearly a sucker for it. And I just go for these 20-mile runs in the heat. I'd find myself at a farmer's market, come home happy. And he sat me down. He's a very successful entrepreneur, and sat me down and said, you need to bring this joy you have for running and this passion and share it with people. So I kind of went home very dramatically, quit my job, broke up with my horrible toxic boyfriend of the time, moved to London and went to YMCA and did my qualifications in personal training and business. And that was it. I just I became Forest Gentry, as I was known in London. I was always running everywhere. I was too broke to get on the subway or the bus, so I'd just put my backpack on and I'd run to my job, which I was doing an intern job in a gym, wipe the sweat up all day, run home, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Loved every second of it. And then I got picked up by Nike to be a
When was this?
Nike.
Sorry, Bex. When was this years-wise? Like,
This was 2012, thereabouts. So a while ago now, a good while ago. And Nike took me on board as a Nike Run Club coach and a Nike Training Club coach. And then I went on to launch NRC in Europe with Corey, Watt and Malcolm, and the NRC leads Coach Bennett, Chris Bennett, and Blue Benedum from the US. And it was a dream job. We were traveling around the world, running with these awesome groups of people from all different countries. And honestly, that was where it all began. My love of running was cemented, and it's in my blood. I just, I don't come across probably as the obsessed runner, but I always run. It's one of those things for me that is just, it brings me a lot of joy. And I think my uncle was right. Sharing that joy with people hasn't done me bad.
and just on that note, great advice from your uncle, and it's obviously a great insight into anyone that's out there that's struggling in jobs. It's not always easy to leave, but there is other options out there.
Mm-hmm.
We all often get caught into like 9 to 5, or I'm presuming in London probably 7 to 7 jobs.
Yep.
And same in New York, so there's always other opportunities out there for anyone. But just so you were at the Nike Run Club. Obviously you were training away, you loved running, but there's obviously there's a competitive nature under all that smiles and joy of running. Where did that come in, or where did you get into actually racing and like proper, say, marathon run, and then obviously getting a bit more competitive at the shorter stuff as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I as I said, I explored the 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons early on when I was still living in Brighton and Hove. And then I went the polar opposite, David. I suddenly went to ultras. I was like, I'm fine. I've never run a marathon, but give me a 50 mile. I'll go do that. That's fine. Because that seemed like a lot of fun, going with, I had a really strong group of female runners, ultra running friends, and we'd just travel anywhere we could to go and run, from Transvolcania to Cinque Terre. We'd get them done. And then I was actually on a Nike running club trip in Berlin, and I was the only female coach, and I went out with the guys early. It was like 4 a.m. in February in Berlin. It was so cold, so dark, and the runners I were with were very strong male runners, and we went and ran the finish area of the Berlin Marathon. If you guys know, it's a beautiful park in the middle of Berlin, and we ran around there. And kilometer-wise, I think we were pushing 4:30s, like really. And I was having a conversation with them, and one of the coaches, Blue, sat me down later on that day and was like, "What's your marathon time?" And at this point, I'd run a marathon. He was like, "That doesn't track. You're faster than that." I was like, "No. I mean, that's what I ran." He's like, "No, I think you can be really fast, Bex. You were holding conversation." And anyway, I got suckered in to his vision, and I'm forever in debt to him for believing in me, seeing something competitive, I guess, in me, and trying to bring it out. And he's a great friend, and he helped me blossom into a much faster runner, a faster runner with confidence. And then the competitiveness, I still don't think it's in me, which is so funny because everybody says
I don't believe that. I don't think anyone else believes that at home either, but it's fine, Beck. You can keep saying that.
It's so funny because I don't run races twice. And, I'm not David Kilgore. I'm not coming back to do this twice. Don't you worry. You've only got me once on here. And
say that now. Once you come across the finish line of Miami.
Yeah. David and I are doing it until we're in our 80s.
Yeah.
But I don't run, I don't want to run New York City Marathon again. I don't want to run Boston again. I'm happy with the time I've got. But I think I'm also one of those people who knows the world is a very big place, and there's a lot of other marathons to run in all different places. That being said, the time's the same, right? It's still 26.2 miles. So the competitiveness comes to me over the distance of like, okay, well, I may not be running the same course, but it's still 26.2. And competitiveness with other people, I will never ever admit that I have that, because I always think of myself as the underdog. When I did the trials, I was quite publicly pinned in the Telegraph as the underdog, and a bit of a like, what is she doing moment. And maybe that sparked some competitiveness on the day. But going into it, I'm always like, I'm the joker. I'm the one who is, on the start line of the trials. I was like, God, is anyone else hungover? Like, trying to break the ice. It was clearly I was not hungover, but I'm trying to break the ice. And everyone else is locked in.
And the trials were in 2021, because I actually watched them, because Chris Thompson, I think, won the men's event. Yeah, so myself and Chris would have been similar ages and stuff like that, so he would have been someone I would have followed probably for the last 20 years with times and that. But 232, you had ran your PB before that was 237, is that correct, from New York?
Yeah.
Did you expect to run 232?
I hope to. I trained my behind off to get to as close as 2:29:30 as I could for the the qualifying time for Team GB, and I gave it my best shot. I definitely, the wheels came off. The weather was a bit halfway through. It was very windy, very big headwind on one side, and the field went from small to minuscule within laps of that park. So it's, without people cheering because it was still COVID, and with barely anyone to run with, it was a real battle mentally. So that being said, I'm really proud that I did 232 with all those things. It was
fantastic. Fantastic run. Yeah.
Still the best day of my life. It was, everyone always says like, oh, you bummed you didn't make it. I'm like, kind of, but I still got a 5-minute PR and I still got to do it. Like, I still got to go to the trials. That's so cool.
And did that spur you? Like, I know you've obviously, you ran Tokyo a couple of months ago, and my understanding is you weren't training as intensely as you had been in the run-up to the trials. Have you any aspirations to get back and put your eyes on that personal best?
I'll tell you on November 22nd.
Yeah, afterwards, that might be different.
Yeah, it might be a different story. I'm running the Marathon Poitou in Paris this year, which is the Olympic marathon course for the public. I'm not racing it. I'm going to be there with NBC doing some, kind of voice on the ground. So it's going to be a very interesting run. When it comes to competing again, I'm not too sure. I don't know whether I'm thinking to cut the distance if I'm going to compete and do halves, because I enjoy that distance a lot more now. And training, I have a daughter, she's, nearly 20 months old, and the days are different now. My days are filled with work, but then when I'm not working, I want to be with her if she's around. It takes a lot to head out for miles. But I know they get more annoying as they get older, so maybe I will want to be away from her soon.
Yeah. No. And just on that, people always are interested in, say, your training plan for marathons. You've ran obviously ultra races, marathons. Has it changed much when you were running like the 237s, 232s to when you're kind of getting back now? What would your normal, say, week look like? I appreciate that they do change from week to week.
Yeah.
Say volume wise and intensity wise.
Absolutely. The trials was nuts. I had a good friend of mine, an incredible coach, Stephen Kirsch, who got me through that training block. And I've never done something so tough but so willingly in the middle of winter in New York. And it was a lot of speed work, because obviously, as you said, my PR before that was 2:37. Having to go down to potentially fighting for a 2:29:30 was a huge, huge difference. And so it was an awful lot of speed work. And I mean, not just the couple of standard sessions a week of speed work that you'll see on a cookie cutter marathon training program. This was speed work was built into my long runs. I would say at least 2 to 3 of them a month were alternating marathon pace, tempo pace for 22 miles, that kind of disgusting level of hard work. So coming into Tokyo, let's use that as the latest example, I honestly just used a lot of my Peloton classes as my training and then long runs, because the difference I would say for me is that I was going for gold for the trials. I was going to, not Olympic gold, I was going for my gold. I wanted to be the gold standard for Becs Gentry on that day. And for Tokyo, I just wanted to finish it. I just wanted to get over that line. My first marathon postpartum, I wanted to make sure that traveling across the other side of the world without my baby girl was worth it, and I could take the medal home for her. And it was my 6-star, my Abbott World Marathon Major 6-star race too.
Congratulations! I didn't know that.
Thank you. Yeah, so it was a really important race, and I run for a living, so I'm very, very blessed in that respect, so that I can utilize my job hours as training as well. So I wasn't training for speed. I wasn't doing those horrible sessions that I was for the trials, and that's continued now, which is joyful.
And that brings us on to, I know you referenced Peloton. You became a Peloton instructor in 2019, is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
So
It's...
How was that? Because I think the first call I had with you a couple of months back, I think it was like 7:30 in the morning in New York, and I think you had 2 classes done already.
Yep.
So I just want to get people give a bit of insight what it might be all glitz and glamour being a Peloton instructor. No. You're there getting your hand dirty. There's a lot of hours of exercising with other people.
An awful lot of time. Yeah, it's I got the job at the end of 2018, and I relocated from London to New York in 2019 when I got my is that right? Or have I... No, I've been here 6 years this year. I've been here 6 years this year. 2018 I arrived here. Wow. So it's been 6 years on the job. And it's... When we first started, I was one of the first group on the tread, on the running side. And it was very much like a startup. We were still figuring stuff out. COVID changed the world of fitness for everyone, the world over, not just Peloton. I think it totally changed how everybody viewed their personal time, their personal health values. And we were there to help people get through tough times, vulnerable moments, and we continue to do that. It seems all glitz and glam, as you said, got some makeup on doing a run, which 6 years in is still alien to me. But it's up at 4:00 in the morning, getting to work, having those camera lights come on when you're exhausted, tired, baby hasn't slept, all of that sort of thing. And bringing 120% energy, because you know that on the other side of the camera there's somebody at home who could be going through something a whole lot worse, who really needs my smile, my motivation, their 20 minutes of running, disconnecting from XYZ. So as tough as it is, I know, as my uncle said, I have a passion for running, and I know that helps uplift people, and that's my goal in life, to just give people that energy and time where they can feel really good.
And with Peloton, Bex, my understanding is you run, cycle and row. Is that correct, or am I leaving anything out there?
Well, they're the pieces of hardware. Yeah, we have bike, tread and rowing machine. But on top of that, we do strength classes, we do yoga, meditation, like some of the best meditations ever. We have bar classes, dance cardio, all sorts of other really fun elements. The bar classes are great. There's a couple of instructors who do those. And we've got everything from hard fitness focused classes to great fun. We have a roster of instructors who are all very different between here and London. And for example, our dance cardio classes, we have some instructors who were big dancers. Jermaine used to dance with Whitney Houston years ago, and they've been rocking the stages. And Camila has this amazing Spanish Latin vibe to her, and she, you can do a really hard 60-minute intervals run with me and then just go let loose and try and dance or do a TikTok dance or whatever. And it may feel funny to us in that fitness world. You and I are very deep in the fitness world, the coaching side of it, but it feels good sometimes to just be like, "Ugh, let it go," but you're still moving your body. And I think that's the most important thing. We offer movement to anyone and anywhere. Doesn't matter what your mood, doesn't matter what your experience is.
I can see why they have you front and center. You're selling it extremely well. I'm gonna sign up to it when I get off this call.
Come and join us.
And is it purely running? Do you do any of the cycling or rowing, or is it just purely running?
I do. So I'm the running training specialist, aka like lead on running, and then I do rowing as well, and strength.
Okay, and then you do your own running on top of that.
Yeah, I run. I never really run to the studio because I have to look good, and I'm a sweater, and I get these red and white tiger stripes, as I call them, when I run. So I save my runs for when I've taught. So I'll teach, 2, 3, 4 classes, and I'll run my run home is 6 miles if I make it snappy and a bridge, or 9 miles if I want to extend it with a bridge. So it depends on the load that I've already done. So
that's again just on a lot of experience fueling for marathons. This is a question that always comes up. Are you a gel person? Are you a liquids person? Or have you any advice out there? Because obviously everyone is different.
Everyone is so different, and honestly, I'm sure you're the same. It takes years, really, or not, maybe not years, but multiple races, however time frame you do them in, to figure out what works for you. And so I can talk on a longer distance race, halves and above into ultras. When it comes to ultras, I'm on the seafood and eat it diet. I will eat anything. Sugar, I don't care. I just need fuel. When I'm actually running, I'm a Morton girl. I love their gels. I'm not a caffeine girl. I'm not. I'm very British. So I have my English breakfast tea or my Earl Grey tea. No milk, no sugar, just straight up out the kettle.
Remember your roots, Becs.
Exactly. Or Yorkshire tea. Oof, bring that on.
You have to say that now as well, because if anyone hears you in the UK that you're drinking coffees in the morning, you won't be allowed to go home.
No, exactly. I'll take an iced coffee every now and again, but I don't need it and I don't love it, and caffeine doesn't necessarily agree with me, so I definitely stay away from that when I'm racing and running. The drinks, I try so hard to drink them because I know they work. So when I ran the trials, when I ran New York City Marathon, I had the drinks before the race, and I try and have one the day before because I feel like I hate the taste so much that on race morning I don't want it to be jangling in my stomach knowing I hate it. But if I can get that electrolyte, those carbs and glucose in the day before, I feel like that's a solid attempt to sort the body out. And I'm a big Hawaiian pizza girl. That's my pre-race meal. I love a pretty standard, doesn't have to be anything fancy, ham and pineapple pizza and a glass of red wine. That's me.
Nice. Very nice. Very nice. That's interesting there. Like with a lot of people who've done ultras, basically fueling goes out the window. Mm-hmm. In ultras, people just end up. I know Dave Kilgore, who's a good friend of yours, he said like he will eat absolutely anything.
Yeah.
It ranges from, he says, healthy food to like eating carrot cake, red velvet cake. He said it's just a matter of calories if you're running that long.
Yeah, I when I first started ultras, I was like, this is fantastic. This is like a moving picnic. You just go from, flat Coca-Cola to slice of cake to some fruit. It's wonderful.
Yeah, super, super interesting. I bet you say previously you only do one, as I said, one marathon or one event and you don't do it again. Obviously, the Great World Race is going to be that exception, as you're going to say in November. Out of all the events you've done, could you name a few out there that like you had a really good experience you'd recommend people to do? I appreciate during the events you might not feel like you ever want to do them again, but looking back.
Yeah, New York City Marathon is going to be always my absolute favourite. Picture perfect day. I think any running expert would look at the weather, the conditions that day, and just think that whatever deity you believe in blessed you. It was amazing. And the mood, the vibe from 5K into the race, I was told you're the first female, which was in both ways thrilling and petrifying to think, but how am I going to hold that for 38 kilometers more? And then of the most beautiful races I've done, I would say Cinque Terre was mind-blowingly beautiful. I mean, it's picture postcard. no matter what, but actually traversing through the 5 regions and seeing the families, the local people come out, ascending and descending 80,000 rugged, old, mishmash, jimble jamble steps up and down that region was such an experience. And Transvolcania probably was the one that I hated the most in the moment when it comes to ultras, because about 10k in, my best friend who I was running it with, she was just like, I don't feel good. Transvolcania is in La Palma in the Canary Islands, and you go up and over a very massive volcano.
I assume it's hot as well.
Very hot, yeah. The good thing is you start very early and you actually go through the back of the volcano is very forested, so it's a lot of shade. And then you go above the clouds when you're getting to the peak of the volcano. But yeah, 10 miles in, or 10k, I don't remember, into the forest, she just like, you've got to go. You're strong. I'm not. I'll see you at the finish. So that was tough to be by myself. And I just remember, doing the human 4x4, which, if you don't know, is when you're getting up a very steep part. If you don't have poles, which I didn't, you just put your hands on your thighs and you push and you become this human 4x4 motion to get up. And there's some pictures where you can just see my face just as we're peaking, that I'm like, get me down from this. And to everyone out there who thinks, oh, but you've got the downhill. The downhill is the worst part, when your legs are that tired and you've lost control of mainly all of your big muscles, that you're just thudding down and it hurts so bad, and you think, oh, I've got like 20 miles of downhill, great. But thinking back and looking back, and it's one of the races I can close my eyes and still see these switchbacks that we had all the way down to the finish line. And it was just, you kind of turn around and be like, it was just up there and I'm going down there, and beautiful blue sea. It was amazing.
No, it sounds excellent. Actually, I've never been over that event, but I definitely just want to have to go and visit sometime, especially after the way you're selling that in Peloton. So I say you're an advocate for all the events. I know recently as well, you are the co-host of the New York Roadrunners podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I'm so thrilled to be there. Love it. Absolutely love it. So New York Roadrunners and Peloton have a partnership, but I've been alongside with them for a while, and it's an honor to be next to Rob Similka, the CEO of New York Roadrunners, doing this podcast and getting to chat to, to be quite honest, my idols. Most of the time I'm sitting there, chatting to Helen O'Beary and Sarah Hall and Dakota Limois, and just like, what? This is nuts. These people are incredible. And it's great. We're actually turning them into Peloton outdoor classes as well. So they're now going to be available on our app, so people can just run along to them, because I know so many people, myself included, I run to podcasts and books as well as music sometimes. So it's a really nice crossover.
No, it's very good. And as I said there, it's always great to cross paths with legends like Helen and Sarah, because it's funny, obviously Ryan is doing the event, and I met him in Boston. Sarah was running, I think she was, I'm actually not sure where she finished, but I remember in the lobby beforehand there was people coming up wishing Ryan to pass the regards on to Sarah, because I was laughing and I said, I think you might think you're famous, Ryan. It's pale in comparison to your wife.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I mean, she was just at the Mini 10K, the Mastercard Mini 10K here in New York, and she's just such a strong female. I adore her.
Yeah,
she's a real big inspiration.
From what I've heard, I've never actually met her. From what I heard, she's super, super nice person, and obviously a fantastic athlete as well.
Yeah, and Ryan's coming back to the running world.
Yeah, he's back. So he's back running maybe the last 6-7 months.
Yeah, and
it's mainly anything from 4 to 10 hours he's running. I know he's out in Crested Butte in Colorado, and he's out kind of in all the forests in the mountains in Arizona. So that's mainly what he's doing at the moment. So it's more kind of a hybrid between lifting weights and running extremely long distances.
Extremely long, 4 to 10 hours at a clip. That's
he's going to be saying it varies. He ends up going climbing mountains, and then he'll run in between. Like, so he said, there's like no pressures of previous things where you have to hit certain times, or you have to run twice a day, 140, 150 miles a week. But brilliant character to deal with as well. Like one of the most easiest going, unassuming characters, considering he's ran a 2:04 marathon. Unbelievable.
Yeah, unreal. I can't wait to meet him.
So that brings us on to the Great World Race. Becs, how is the prep going to go, and are you looking forward to it?
Fine, and I don't know. So it feels like when we first spoke about space in the race, and it felt like there were so many months, and then all of a sudden it's 5 months, and we're going to be in Cape Town ready to hotfoot it over to Wolf's Fang. And I think the training right now is just I'm getting my body adapted to running tired, and not just job, mom, life tired, but like leg tired every day. And then I'm going to layer on the distance as well. It's creeping up. My life's so sporadic that it is difficult to know. Some weeks, like yours, you're traveling all over the place, and with a little one, it is difficult to just be like, okay, I've got to go here, I've got to go there. But it's going to be fine. It's going to be absolutely great. I think once the distance gets up, and once I have a chat with my coach about how that's going to balance out. But right now it's, 14 or so miles most days is feeling good on the heavier days. And then I'm doing, like 6 miles a day on the lighter days, which is great. And no hard speed work, David. That is my joy now, knowing that I don't have to do these long sessions in order to get faster and faster. It's the polar opposite. I'm learning to run steadier and slower. I am thoroughly enjoying it. Like, it's the opposite to the trials, whereas I'd run home from the trials, and week on week I'd want to run home faster. I'd want to know, because I know the distance, I knew the route like the back of my hand. And so week on week I needed to shave time off that same journey. This is, I leave work and I am smiling. I'm not dreading the runs. I'm like, I don't care how long it takes me. I've just got to keep moving and keep running and get myself home. And that I'm very grateful for, because it does make the training, the intensity has come down, the duration's gone up, and that makes the training more approachable to me right now. I'm not going to promise you that that's how I'm going to feel all the way through, but for now, it's good.
And obviously I will mention the women's world record in the 777 is 3 hours, 25 minutes, 57 seconds. I know you're not competitive, you're not into times. I'm just throwing it out there, Bex. I just want to put it out there so you can absorb it the next couple of months.
That's the average, right? Over the 7 races.
That's the average, that is correct.
Yeah. You know what? I've got a funny feeling Ashley Paulson might be going for gold on that one. She's a very fast, very strong ultra runner. So I'm excited. Not competitive wise, but I'm excited to have somebody of her caliber running it as well, because I know that will spur me to try and maybe run miles with her, alongside her, and we can kind of be strong together in that, which is exciting.
No, brilliant. We also actually have Shireen Nigem. Shireen was actually a 3-time Winter Olympian, and then she took up running and she made the Rio Olympics for Lebanon. She's a 2:41 marathoner, so there'll be plenty of action up at the front of the ladies event.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait. I'm sure we will all settle in as a team as well. It's going to be camaraderie. It has to be for 168 hours at least, whilst we traverse the world.
No, absolutely. And Bex, listen, it was an absolute pleasure having you on. I'll definitely bring you on after the event, because if you talk about the great world as glowingly as you talk about the events in Peloton, it'll sell out the door. So I'll definitely have you back on again after the event.
Thank you so much. I have one quick question for you.
Bex, fire ahead.
David, do we get to shower this whole week?
Bex, you do indeed. There will be showers after all the marathons, so there's no problem there at all. No, that will be well taken. You'll be well taken care of there.
Not me thinking that it would only be Istanbul that we get to shower.
No. There'll be there'll be showers provided at every location.
Oh my gosh, that is music to my ears. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for organising this absolutely wonderful adventure. I cannot wait to be part of it and join the other slightly bonkers humans who are doing this in November.
There's plenty of them involved. Bex, it's an absolute pleasure. It's been great to talk to you, and as I said again, we'll definitely be staying in touch and having you on again sometime. Thanks, Bex. That's all good, Bex.
Yay!
Brilliant. Fantastic. Thanks very much, Bex. Great. I could have talked to you for a couple of hours there on various things.
All these runners. Well, listen, have a great time in Rome. I hope the team continue to shine out there.